don't understand it. I've come across this mysterious game and it doesn't appear to be associated with any specific tournament. If you know otherwise, please let me know, but the game was played in January 2021. Very current, and it's by two huge names. So I think we're looking at an actual ladder or practice game, sometimes which is the very best kind of game of all. I'm particularly stoked to see uThermal back at it. As you may know, he suffered arm injuries in the fall of 2020 and was unable to practice. And there's nothing worse than watching a player's performance fall off due to injury, when they still have that drive and desire. So it is awesome to have him back. Also, I just can't find this game anywhere else on the internet. So if this game turns out to be enjoyable, we can contribute a unique piece of art to the Starcraft community. So I was at some bar last night, and some punk tried to tell me to thermal. He was all up in my face, and I was like, I don't thermal. You thermal!
You're on.
Current world rank 26.
Streamer, Starcraft educator, Terran savior, and creator of the Dutch bulldozer. uThermal is a killer, but tonight his Zerg opponent is so powerful he's actually immune to puns. He's not a breakfast cereal, he is Serral!
Current world rank 1.
Serral won DreamHack Summer, Serral won DreamHack Winter, but he has not won the biggest prize in StarCraft since 2018. In less than a month, he will have his chance to formally reclaim that throne. Hey, it's kind of interesting how uThermal has blocked off his ramp. His barracks is kind of off to the side. I assume he puts a depot in the center. So it's the exact same three pieces. He just puts them in a different SimCity order than everybody else. I bet there's some clever reason for it, it's just not known to me. There's our eggplant splash. It's 2 queens and 4 lings. That is the Serral standard. The Reaper and the Scouting SCV are going to tag off. Oh, and they're actually going to phase through each other's bodies. You didn't know they had molecular density powers, but they do. It's what happens when an SCV is clicked on minerals. Now I should mention we've got one of those replays that's been recorded in a less user-friendly format. The production facilities are not showing what's building inside them unless you click on it. Fortunately, you've got a commentator who blabs way too much, so I can compensate for this. The Queen pops out, drives off the Reaper, no kills on that Reaper. Thus far, Serral has successfully rotated his lings. But uThermal may not be done here. Oh, Queen on the top! Reaper escapes and he will get the Scout on that 3rd. Meanwhile, back on the Terran Ranch, the factory is just finishing up. uThermal's gonna do an add-on switch and take the reactor away from the barracks. Serral starts up ling speed. He could lose a ling here. Nope, everybody's being cautious with their units early game. Starport underway for uThermal. Nothing coming out of that reactored factory just yet. uThermal has also started up a 3rd command center on his high ground in his main. The Reaper continues to make his presence known, but he will not get inside. Serral is going hard on the queens. Okay, we do have reactored Hellions on the way now. So far, everything about this matchup has been very classical. Very traditional TVZ timing so far. I could easily see that playing into Serral's advantage. He's already up 6 workers and probably starting to feel a little bit comfortable. His 3rd's about to finish, and he's not letting up on the queen production. uThermal's gonna add another 2 Hellions, take his count up to 4. If it hits 6, we're gonna start to suspect a mech build. Oh, the tech lab went to the starport. uThermal's making an early Banshee. No cloak so far, we better keep an eye on that. uThermal's keeping his Hellions back so far. He might be looking at some kind of multi-pronged attack timing. Serral's gonna sack a slow Overlord for the Scout. He's gonna see that Banshee, and he's gonna see the cloak building in the tech lab. Is it a fake out though? The Overlord kill will be the first blood to Terran. That's also gonna leave Serral supply blocked for 2 seconds. Never mind, 2 seconds over. Kind of interesting that uThermal held back 2 of his Hellions. And he's got 2 more on the way. He has not canceled the cloak or the Banshee. That's real. It's as real as my imaginary friend, Mr. Bear. He's real to me, okay? And that's what matters. uThermal rolls out 2 more Hellions, and he's making a 2nd Banshee. Serral goes for a Baneling nest, and he starts up a lair. He's also taking the Banshee threat seriously. He's starting a Spore in all 3 of his bases. There's that Banshee getting queued up. It's a tough call. That's 250 minerals and gas just sitting around. But 2 Banshees hitting your opponent's mineral line are so much more effective. To me, it's more than twice. Here's uThermal still pretending he has less Hellions than he does. He's actually got 8 and his Q says he's soon gonna have 11. And he's gonna spot that Serral's taken a 4th. uThermal should be about to land his 3rd. Yes, he is. Banshee production is stopped at 2. He's starting stim. But look at this. There is an armory underway. Yeah, uThermal's totally split his Hellions to try to make it look like he's only got 1 group. This has got Hellbats written all over it. Serral does not have roaches. He's macroed. He does have banelings though. Banelings are pretty good against Hellbats. But boy, you'd really want to have some roaches mixed in there. Oh, here's why. Serral's trying to jump to Spire Tech. I think uThermal's timed this right. This is going to be a really tough hold for Serral. Remember, he doesn't have Baneling speed at this point. Serral sees the large Hellion count. He immediately starts an Evo block. Autobots, transform and roll out. Okay, my Peter Cullen voice really needs work. The Banshees are going to have a rough day at the office. Serral went up to 7 queens, and he put a spore in every single base. But the Hellbats are going to be tough to deal with. Serral has to pull his drones from his 3rd, and he's losing a lot of Banes before they can hatch. The Speedlings just melt to the Hellbats. So do drones! Fortunately, there's no blue flame upgrade. Serral's pulled all his queens to the front to deal with the Hellions. That might let the Banshees get some work done in the main. They've got 3 and 4 kills apiece on them. 9 drone kills from this assault so far. Not only has Serral not lost the worker lead, he's making 10 more drones. So overall, when you consider how deadly this attack is, this was a very good defense for Serral. But he lost a lot of resources. Apart from his queens, his army's non-existent. And he hasn't been able to save up the minerals and gas for that big giant burst of Mutalisks. uThermal scouted the Spire and he's delayed the flock. And he's kept both his Banshees alive. That's a big deal. I think as I talk, I'm starting to change my mind here. uThermal may not have gotten ahead with this, but it wasn't a bad punch at all. With that latest mule drop, he's actually out mining Serral's 4 bases. With the battle over for the moment, both our players start their +1/+1. uThermal's adding medevacs. Remember, those can actually heal Hellbats. They can't heal Banshees though. Oh, but he can repair them, thank goodness. I love it when Terran players take care of their units. Oh, watch this. It's the David Copperfield of Zerglings. They managed to make a giant pile of garbage suddenly disappear before my eyes. I'm not falling for it, it's still there. That trick's all done with mirrors. Here comes uThermal's 2nd wave, his Echo attack. He drops a scan and finds an ungodly number of creep tumors. Talk about your target-rich environment. This time, though, Baneling speed is going to be done. Or will be soon. That will really help against these Hellbats. Serral's also been able to get 7 mutas out on the map. But for now, this is all about uThermal's ability to split his units versus Serral's Baneling control. I really love that uThermal added that 1 Widow Mine. It gives him a position to fall back to and gives something for Serral to worry about. Or it did anyway. uThermal's going to start up a Thor. I really like the tech that he's picking up here. The problem is Serral's hit that 75 drone comfort zone. I think that puts uThermal on a clock. He has to do some damage or Serral will just run away with the game. He's like, oh my god, I could have sworn I just killed all these creep tumors. Oh, I love that he's able to mix his Banshees back into his main army. I get that they're not very sturdy and they require micro, but it just adds that punch that your opponent has to respect. And they're great for cutting down on the force of those Banelings. uThermal eyes a 4th, Serral starts a 5th. Nothing. uThermal's already finished his 4th base. He just needs to fly it over. He's already sending his long-distance mining crew to check the base out. I love this technique. He muta-proofs it before he sends it over. It costs you some delayed mining time, but if it saves you from SCV obliteration, isn't it worth it? Serral's flock has really been delayed, but now it's here. He's up to 11 mutas. Oh, and I do believe they found the Banshees, yes. With an Overseer, that is bad news for the Banshees. They're wishing they stayed with the Marines now. So Serral's superior economy is kicking in and he's committing hard to the Lingbane Muta. uThermal's pretty much behind on everything now, but he has that superior tech. He's actually going to make a fortress at his 4th base. I like that choice. I also like that he's maximizing this ramp to his advantage. It's just a great staging area for his attacks. If Serral can finally get his creep up there like he wants to, it won't be available to uThermal anymore. uThermal's doing a fantastic job of trying to bait out Serral to overcommit with his banelings. If your opponent just sends out 2 Marines, you can't ignore it, but if you just A-attack it, there's a risk you'll spend way too much getting rid of it. Thor is here and stepping onto creep, but the mutas are not here. They're actually counterattacking. They're going for uThermal's 4th base, but they've discovered it's a fortress. That and the missile turrets cause all kinds of logistical problems for Serral. And while Serral's own attack is stymied, uThermal's making gains on his attack, and he's killing mutas. uThermal just got back into this in a big way. He's going to max out. Both our players are about to max out. This is still anybody's game. Serral's got that economy he wants, but uThermal's got that entrenched position now. Solid defense at home, the security to stage some intelligent attacks. There's a brief window for uThermal here. He's got the upgrade advantage. This is starting to morph into an interesting game. Oh, a Widow Mine anticipates Serral's counterattack. But there's not much else there for defense. It's a Baneling bust. Can the SCVs get away? No! Big connections. It looks like 11 worker kills. And the Lings are able to break into the natural. And now Serral's gonna try to repel the Terrans from his own base. That Baneling bust also supply capped uThermal. The good news for him is he was building a command center. That's gonna help him recover much more quickly. He's also adding Liberators. That's a great way to defend against the Banelings. Not so much against the mutas though. That's where the Thors and the Marines are gonna have to come in. The siege begins now. uThermal drops a scan and then decides where he wants to put his pink circles of doom. I love the arrows in the liberation zones. Kill things here. Serral's picked up the speed upgrade for his overlords. That applies to overseers. It's critical to protect your mutas from widow mines. Oh, I love that Thor's position. Unfortunately, it's not enough for him to reclaim that base. And until he does, Serral's outmining him by just too much. Serral's like, fine, I'll just send everything into your liberation zone. If Protoss hadn't trademarked power overwhelming, I'd suggest that's exactly what's going on here. uThermal is trading very efficiently, but there's a risk that very is not going to be good enough. If the money disparity continues, uThermal's going to have to be hyper efficient. Yes, there are tiers of efficiency, I so declare. And if you need to know what the numbers are for each category, I can make those up for you later. Serral starts up the crackling upgrade. He's even things up on the numeric upgrades. But if the creep tells the story, it's getting beaten back where it matters. I don't know, I'm not prepared to count uThermal out yet. He's really got the Zerg stuck on defense. When uThermal played Serral on this same map, Lightshade, in DreamHack Winter, he kinda got crushed. This has been much more even keel. Oh, Serral's making his move. How are the splits? Serral wants to get that Liberator, but he has to eat Widowmine to do it. He prioritizes the Thor, but the second Thor forces him back. Those Javelin missile launchers aren't just doing splash damage. They're doing splash damage with bonus damage against light types, which Mutalisks are. That is a sandwich they do not want to eat. It's like bad salami way past its expiration date. Serral's mutas are going to circle around to see if he can get some targets of opportunity. Can he take care of that Thor? A medevac swoops in and grabs it and gets away with it. Oh, that was a sweet micro play. Most players would have just lost the Thor and the medevac. Oh, Serral's mutas are going to spot uThermal's latest expansion. But I don't know if uThermal cares. He's finally getting at that third. The Baneling defense rolls out. Really good splits here. There's a lot of Marines still alive. It looks like Serral has the... No, he does not have the cleanup. Another wave gets rallied in. They're going for that hatch. Serral has been depopulated. He's making 36 Lings to try to rebuild his Banes. But uThermal is making use of the window. The new mutas get rallied in, get cut down. It's GG! Well, that was kind of fun. uThermal wins this game even though Serral has the superior economy almost the entire course of the game. That's not supposed to happen. Personally, I think Serral decided to award it to him after this sweet piece of micro. Look at uThermal save this Thor in the coolest way possible. Somebody give that medevac pilot a Medal of Valor. I don't think too many pilots would do that. Dude, that Thor has 8 times the armor I have, and he's built to fight mutas. What am I risking my neck for? But let me take a shot at trying to explain a little bit of what happened in that last sequence. I've got us a freeze frame at 13 minutes and 48 seconds, which kind of shows the layout. So here's uThermal's attacking force. It's good, but it's not that great. If we pan up, we see that Serral has sufficient number of banelings to deal with it. Now it's just Ling Bane. Serral's mutas are out of position because he's going after this juicy target. With hindsight, it's bad, but at the time you can't really blame him because that's a legitimate target of opportunity. But what he's not really thinking about is that uThermal has this second force rallying forward. Marine Marauder with mine with Thor. So what's going to wind up happening is Serral is going to expend his banelings on only half of uThermal's forces. Banelings are just better against concentrated targets. Now, in fairness to Serral again, if he waits, he could lose his third. So he makes the decision that he has to go. And the results are going to be kind of predictable. Well, maybe that's only because we already watched the game. The banelings are going to deal with that first force, but they're all going to be entirely expended. So Serral's got a ton of money, and he's got a ton of larvae, but because uThermal has this second force rallying up, what he doesn't have is time. Now he's got to remake his entire army, but while he's doing that, uThermal's going to make hay. It also means uThermal's on top of the spawning units, and Serral does not like that one bit. He's going to GG. In a bizarre way, it's a little bit like attacking in between waves of locusts. When your opponent blows all their banelings, you've got yourself a window. Now, I don't know how much of that was craftiness by uThermal and how much of that was luck. I'm not sure he meant to separate his units into 2 squads like that. If he did, it was brilliant. More likely the units came late because they were just being produced. But credit to uThermal because he had to get himself in that position in the first place. Anyways, it's pretty exciting that we're going into the finals and Serral is back on top in excellent form, but not immortal. It gives us a terrific storyline for February when we hit Katowice. I'm starting to feel it, just a little bit. So from my base to yours, Zugzwang out. To continue your StarCraft journey, Nova advises you to click the video in the upper rectangle. But Kerrigan warns you to watch your 6 and click the video in the bottom rectangle. Or you can stimpack your StarCraft experience. Subscribe to Zugzwang StarCraft. Just hit the circle. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out.